Shipyard site now, and again, the bridge was a purposeful decision to have a sense of arrival that you're going to someplace that's different than just Lonsdale Avenue. So the Coppersmith Shop is the building you see here. The city has that for 50 years, and the intention is that that'll probably be some kind of a restaurant or a brew pub or wine bar or something that's going to be having retail as well.
When's that going to happen? That's been sitting there for a long time.
It's been sitting a long time. There's some contamination that was underneath the building that didn't get cleaned up properly. So we're working on getting that done better. And until the province signs off, the 50 years don't start. So we're waiting to take.
How long do you think that'll take before the contamination problem is solved?
Hopefully before the end of the year, but it's a bit of a black box when you try and get an answer from the Ministry of Environment. So, so from where we are here, again, you sort of get the sense when you step and look back about that shipyard precinct and kind of some of the elements that make that up. And you can imagine whatever goes on Lot 5 will be sort of a backdrop. It'll close kind of the space off. And I think this space really needs to be, something else has to happen there. And that's where that machine shop would have been, or something else might be now. So then we're on the foot of Lonsdale, which is again a completely different history. So here, this is the old ferry dock you're standing on that dates back to early 1900s. And this needs to be rebuilt because it's falling apart. And there's also some fill over on that side. So what we've decided to do is to combine some of these efforts into something that we call the Central Waterfront Study, which is trying to look at both these lands, which includes that large Kate's Tug shed, through to Lot 5, and figure out, let's look at these things together. We'd had a consultant firm doing some work for us here, and they were doing good work, but they were kind of just looking here, and then we had ideas of what was going to happen there. And what became obvious to us was there was now an opportunity to think about these things in context with one another and begin to make decisions. In this area, if you're going to put a museum, where would the best location for the museum be? Presentation House Gallery's looking for a home. What would be the best location for Presentation House Gallery? There's a lot of desire to have something here for kids to do. A water park has been talked about. If you were going to have a water park, would it be better at the foot of Lonsdale or Lot 5? Or no waterfront park, no water park is something totally different. So the idea was let's make some decisions about these things. And so the kind of decisions that have happened so far have been that the museum going into that pipe shop makes sense. The Presentation House Gallery going into the Kate site here makes sense.
Are they going to sell it and give it to?
We already own it.
Oh.
And we're sort of securing that they're going to release it back to us as the owner.
Okay.
And I'll talk a bit more about that, and I've got some slides that show what's going on there. So this was the terminus of the streetcar system that went up in three directions: Lonsdale, Lynn Valley, and Capilano. And all routes came to the foot of Lonsdale.
If they had a streetcar, they were smart then.
Yeah, 1906.
Making money.
This is classic, right? But we still have the bones of this transportation system and the urban structure of it. And so we're still working on that with a regional city center concept now. And the C-Bus has resurrected ferry traffic here, which is great. So we have buses coming back connecting to the C-Bus. Maybe it'll be rapid transit or light rail or something in the future.
Would they ever go to the trains going back up again?
In the 2040 vision for TransLink, they talk about this being a rapid transit corridor.
Transit.
Yep, which could be light rail, could be, but the idea is that it'd be a major transit corridor. We do have an old streetcar. It's been restored. It's not really functional to operate by today's standards for people getting in and out of it. So it's become more of an artifact than a working streetcar. And there was also a railway station. The BC Rail, which was originally the Pacific Great Eastern Railway, had its birthplace really here at the foot of Lonsdale, and that's the train station. And from there, out along Carrie Cates Court, those trains went to Horseshoe Bay, and they took a long time for them to eventually get to Prince George eventually, which didn't happen for
The mayor
decades.
wants aquatic museum. Where else are they here for museum?
Lot 5 is
Lot
talked
5.
about for that. So the central waterfronts, they're trying to figure out, so what are the ingredients, or what should go in where? And once we get it narrowed down, we can get into a more straight design process for those spaces. And so the central waterfront study you'll see is evolving to try and put some of those placeholders in place so that we can start doing some further work. Now, the thing that's happened with this site is this deck is not structurally sound. It needs to be rebuilt. Right. The land over there that those gentlemen are on is also not structurally sound. It and it needs to be anchored to hold up to a seismic event. The land underneath that building is in the same condition. It needs to be secured somehow. And what has come up is that the logical thing for us to do is, rather than put the gallery into that building, is to come back with a new building that would be built somewhere in proximity to that. And that opens up some new opportunities, because it's kind of a neat maritime building. On the other hand, it's one of the reasons why people don't find the foot of Lonsdale, because it's such an obstruction from Lonsdale Quay. And we've got a couple of options that show this site with that kept and removed. And it was amazing, because we had all been going on the basis until about a month ago that that building would be retained for Presentation House Gallery. And then when this information came to light, we started to think, well, we better start looking at an option that replaces it. And it was amazing some of the things that are done better as a result of a new design that allows for more contiguous waterfront. So the water dock out here that you see has a variety of boats that are owned by the Washington Group. The Washington Group owns the dock that's nearest Lonsdale Quay and the land with it. We own this other water lot and the Kate's building, and collectively it's all been Kate's tug for many, many decades. We're coming out of that now as they've pulled their tugboats out for the most part, and Washington's looking to park some of their boats here on water, and then we're going to take back our land, including that Kate Shed land, and come back with the plan for that. So the idea for the Foot of Lonsdale has been, what to do with it, and there's some ideas that have come out of that as well. You're focused on Lot 5. We're trying to deal with both, really.
Yeah.
But we want this to be definitely a people place. But one of the things that came out of a workshop we had in the summertime with members of the public was people were saying, if I was going to have my kid playing in a water park and hanging out and spending some time, I'd rather be over on Lot 5 where there's no traffic, or minimal traffic. There's more going on, so if I got kids at different ages, there's different things for them to do. Whereas right here, I've got the buses coming and going, I got all that traffic coming and going. I don't feel like there's a lot more going on in the same way. So it suggested that those more public uses, the active uses, probably on Lot 5, would work better from what we heard from most people.
Gary, would Park Week eliminate